So, welcome everybody. Our next lecture in the room of Institute of Cryptanarchy at LibertyCon is called Why We Need Anarchy in Education. And it will be lectured by Urza and Zdeňka Staňková from Svoboda, učení, which means freedom to learn. And this is a non-profit organization which aims for separating the state and the educational system. Urza is also having very popular lectures in Paralelní polis called Anarcho-capitalism. So please, Urza and Zdeňka, tell us more about anarchy in education.
Thank you. So good afternoon. My name is Zdeňka. This is Urza, and Martin already said everything what I wanted to say in the beginning. So this is what our lecture is about. When we talk about freedom, we often talk about adults, but there are many younger and smaller people who are not free at all because of compulsory school attendance. So we would like to tell you more about how we see the freedom for children, that we think that state education is actually a propaganda tool. Then I will tell you something about various educational models and voluntariness. And in the end, we will tell you what we think is a solution for this problem, which is complete separation of education and state.
Okay, thank you. So, the first thing I want to ask you and think about is imagine if some private corporation or company would promote its products as part of a school education. Let's say imagine, for example, McDonald's, how they are paying a school or somehow influencing it that the teachers on biology in the class lessons will tell the students that the McDonald's food is very healthy stuff, and it wouldn't be marked as commercial, it would be just part of the education. Or imagine if some gaming company would influence the school to make kids to play games or something like that. PC games. And the same can be, for example, some church, if they would raise their followers during the schooling process. I think that such stuff everybody would quite condemn and nobody would want this at school. But the question is why we have exception when government does exactly the same thing. Because it's exactly what's going on at our schools through the education system. The government is using propaganda to our kids to indoctrinate them to believe into the state. I know that these words can seem that they are quite strong, but I have few examples about this, just to imagine what I'm talking about. For example, the first thing is that at schools we are told that the state is necessary because free market fails. Because free market is failing in healthcare, free market is failing in the social system, and in many other stuff where the free market can't provide services as they are wanted. Mostly as libertarians we believe that it's not like that. However, okay, some socialists can say, yes, the market fails. However, it means that this is an open question. It's not like fact. It's a matter of, let's say, opinion, but you can't say as a fact that free market fails. For example, in providing healthcare and stuff, because 100 years ago it was provided by free market. However, at schools we hear that it is just failing, and there is no discussion about it. Moreover, the state is also legitimized through the education system. The things which the government is doing are put as they are necessary or even good or desirable. For example, war on drugs or taxation. And the things, again, without any discussions, are put into minds of kids like, we need this. It's necessary to have it. But there is some discussion about it, who is asking the questions. And it's even more. In the schools, sometimes they are even directly lying to the kids. Let's say, example about freedom of speech. We are told that we have freedom of speech in our society, in our state. This is what the teachers at schools are telling us. However, we don't have freedom of speech. And this is not question or matter of opinion. It is like that. Because if you would publicly promote or propagate racism or approve some violent acts and stuff in Czech Republic, this is against the law. I don't know how it's in other countries. Maybe it can be similar, maybe it can be a bit different. However, I don't believe that there is some of you is from country where you really have freedom of speech. However, at school they are telling us that we do. And we can think whatever about it. We can think that we need such laws which are telling us what we can't say and what we can say. I don't think so. But somebody can say, yes, it's necessary to have such laws. But okay, even if it would be necessary, it doesn't mean that we have freedom of speech. And the last thing, which I find even probably the most disgusting of all of this, is that the state is glorified and even deified within the school system. Because our kids have to honor things like flag or anthem or another state symbols. And this is like the thing which is put into the kids absolutely at the beginning when they are in very young age. And how then we can say, let's critically think about state. It's like, yes, learn to critically think about state, but first you must honor the anthem and flag. It's absolutely absurd. And all of this wouldn't be that bad if the attendance wouldn't be compulsory. But it is. The kids have to go to school. Otherwise, it's against the law. And it's really like that they are forced by violence to that. It's not some metaphor or something. If you don't put your kids into school and you just deny this state education system and say that I don't want my kids to be indoctrinated by government, they just kidnap the kids from you. And yes, I'm using the word kidnap. It again may sound weird because the laws made by government are saying that this is not happening. But in fact, it is. Because when I would say, fuck you government, I won't put my kids into your school, they will send people who will take these kids from me. And they will just put them somewhere where they will be indoctrinated anyway. This is something what I would puke of. And the interesting thing is that the only other group of people in our society which is treated like this are prisoners and criminals. This is only two groups in this society which we are so much limiting on their freedom of movement, for example, and we are telling them what to do and when to do that. And which has to be for many hours per day somewhere where we put them, like into the cage. Prisoners and kids. So that's why I think that the education system is giving the power to the state. Everybody is indoctrinated by this propaganda. The people believe that when they are kids, and they keep this believing when they raise up. And this direct way is not the only way how this is done. There are even other things which I think I should mention. The kids, even before we read them to write or to read or something like that, the first thing, even before that, we tell them, here is your authority, this is a teacher, and you must obey. And the point is that we are telling to the kid, you must obey authority which you didn't choose. And then the teacher is very easily replaced by policeman, by some officer, or by some politician. Because the first thing the kids learn in school is to obey authority which they didn't choose. I'm not talking against authority in general. If somebody voluntarily picks its authority, it's absolutely okay. But this what we are putting into the kids is obey authority which you didn't choose. And now I would give my word I would give the word to Zdenka, so you can take over.
Also, there are many types of parents, many types of families, many different children. We are all individuals, and we have different expectations from the educational system or from the education itself. Parents want different things from school, and the requirements are often contradictory. Some parents want their children to believe that this world is created by God. Some parents believe in evolution, and the centralized system cannot satisfy all those needs. And also the whole thing is much more complex. There are many models of education, and most of them lie beyond the school walls. This is just part of learning theories. And this is what our schools are teaching. You can see the difference.
Yeah, this school, what we have, that how you saw that models, it's called Prussian cadet. The interesting thing is that we very often hear the teachers how they are telling us that they are teaching the kids how to be independently thinking, critically thinking, how they should be responsible individuals, and this is what we say. This is very popular in these days. However, it wasn't like that in all the times, because in past the expectations from schools were different. In Prussia, the generals of army were complaining to the head of the state that the schools are producing bad soldiers, and that the soldiers are too much thinking, too much asking, and not just obey. And as a result of this complaination, there came system which was designed to make good soldiers. That system, Prussian cadet, is exactly what we know now from schools. It's there for 100 years, for more than 100 years, for hundreds of years. And this system is like classes, subjects, lessons, teachers, age separation. All of this was built on how to produce good soldiers who are not asking and who are just doing and obeying. And in this education system, which was built like this and designed for this purpose, we are now trying to, let's say, teach them to critically think. This is absolutely nonsense. It's like you would go to some musical festival and you would search silence there, and all what you change as a parameters is how your ear paddings will look like. But the problem is that you shouldn't go search for silence to music festival. It's like if you would be eating steaks with fork and knife, and you are cutting it with the knife and it's working, and suddenly you say, okay, I will take 2 forks. And you would try to eat it with it and it wouldn't work. And instead of taking the knife, you would say, okay, let's change parameters of the forks. Let's make them a bit sharp at the edge. It will be better. And then some schools are created like this, and people are saying, wow, it's much better. When the forks were normal forks, it was really bad. And now, when it's a bit sharp on the edge, it's much better for cutting the steak. Wow, so nice. But this is exactly what is done in the education system. And it would be very funny if we wouldn't be forced to put our kids into that.
But what if you imagine a school without any compulsory lessons, without any compulsory classes, without imposed authorities, without age segregation, 4-year-olds and 18-year-olds, adults, seniors, without testing, without evaluation, without forced participation or monitoring of absence, but with rich environment, interior and exterior, and with equality in decisions. When the 4-year-old child has the same vote or the same voice as the adult, as the employee. Do you think this school could work? They actually work for more than 100 years. It began with anarchistic free school in Barcelona with Francisco Ferrer. Then, in 1921, A.S. Neal found Summerhill, and in 1960s, Sudbury Valley schools started in USA, and now there are dozens of them all around the world. And many children attended those schools. Some of them are already dead because, you know, it's been a long time. Is it a school for everyone? Probably not. Because no school is for everyone.
Yes, and even if no school is for everybody, we can ask question why some kind of schools or education systems should be illegal. Why should they be against the law? And the solution for it is complete separation, the state and the government from the education system. I know that this might sound very radical, but we believe and we are very convinced that this is in fact the only way how to fix these problems we said here. It's not like we are pushing everybody to put the kid into the Sudbury school. It's okay, let everybody to put a kid where the kid and the parent want. Make it voluntary. It's okay when some schools will be of some strict type, some schools will be of some very freedom type, and some people will educate their kid at home, for example, whatever. But the point is why to push something by a law to the people, by violence. So the complete separation of education system from a state is, there are such a 4 steps which must be done. The first, abolition of compulsory school education. This is what I was talking about at the beginning, and I know that in some countries you don't have compulsory school attendance, but you have just compulsory education like that. But the point is that in quite all European states, the laws are forcing the parents to educate their kid by some way. It differs state to state what exact conditions are there, but the point is that there should be nothing like that, no of such force that it should be implemented by violence to that people. The second thing is that the state should absolutely abolish all the legislative, all the laws which are connected with schools and all the regulation around them. Why? Because even if you have some private school here in Czech Republic, for example, but even in other countries, still the rules are set by state. You have there a bit of freedom what you can do, but in fact, you still must do what the government allow you. You can't do it exactly as you want. For example, the schools Denka was talking about is not legal in Czech Republic, and it's not legal in many other countries. Even if in few countries it is, and it's working there and it's working good, in Czech Republic you can't have such school. It's just against the law. So we want to abolish all of these laws and regulations which are saying how the school should look like. Then the third thing, quite controversial, is that the government and state shouldn't be founding any schools. You can say, okay, why? Why to not put at least money for some schools of the government? Why the state shouldn't have some schools which would be paid by taxes? Well, it's because the money is not created from nowhere. No government in the world can create money. They can just steal this money from the people. And if you steal money from the people, you are also taking a bit of their freedom to, for example, pay school they want. So even if you would have system where you can put your kid to any school you want, but still the state would tax you and pay some other schools from that, you don't have the freedom to put your resources as you wish to the education for your kids which you wish. And the last thing is abolition of state certification. It's also quite big deal. It's about all the grades and stuff, how the each state has different, but some system of diplomas and certificates which are telling you that you passed some education. Everything like this should be also done on free market, because through this the state can blackmail the schools, like we won't give you the right to certificate your students by our diplomas, because if you are not doing the school as we wish. So even this must be cancelled and abolished. And what will we have if this all happens? We will have free market schools. And free market doesn't mean necessarily commercial schools. There can be many types of education on free market. You can have their private schools, but it can be schools which are sometimes, some of them can be generating some profit, some of them even not. It's just whichever you wish. There can be some charity or whatever. And there can be also corporate schools, that you have a company, and the company is providing school. It was quite popular before the compulsory education system. It's like 100 or more years ago, where some companies were opening schools, and the parents who were working there could put the kids to that school. This was the first thing. And the second thing, the companies were raising their employees as they wishes, according to their wishes. And you can also have some education like in communities, like you have parents who would be altering their kids, like for example, I don't know, 10 parents would agree on that they will teach their kids at home, but not each of them every day, but they would change them. So each of the parents could normally work, and in some days they would teach the kids. Zdenka, for example, is applying this model in some form, even in Czech Republic, but it's very hard, and it's not fully free. But she's in a group of parents who are changing in teaching or educating, not educating and teaching. They are, I say, raising the kids freely. And of course, you can have some courses and lessons and lectures. And I can't say all the possibilities which can happen on free market is quite unpredictable. But I believe that if you let the people the freedom to do it as they want, in the end they will find many of very good solutions.
So it's just the conclusion of what we just said. We think that the education, the state education, is an instrument of state propaganda, and there are many models of education, and just a very narrow range is forced to everyone but the state. And of course, as Urza said, the solution is voluntariness and free market. And I just read what you can read by yourself, but this is like the end of our presentation, and because we thought that you probably will have many questions, now is the time. Oh, and we would like to tell you something about our manifesto we've just created. You can read it here. It's in both Czech and English, and it's also on our webpage. And we also have a leaflet about our projects, because we're doing many things apart from spreading the word about freedom in education. And now it's time for your questions, if it's all we wanted to say.
Yeah, you can go to the bottom floor. We have there such a table with such materials. You can discuss there with us, and we can present you whatever you want from Svoboda učení. So does anybody have some question? Okay.
Yeah, there is.
There are two at least.
So my question is simple. What are the activities that you are, organizing or helping to spread? What are the options we have now with all the system? Like, if you can go through in some points, what we can do.
Yes, I think this is more on Zdenka.
There are not many options actually, because we have, as you just heard, the state and the legislation is quite strict. So we can homeschool, but still, if you homeschool, you have to every 5 months you have to go to the school and prove that your child is learning something, and this is something that we don't consider as a freedom, because, for example, my daughter, she doesn't understand why she should go somewhere, talk to some strange people that she never met, and prove that she's learning, or prove what we've done for the past 5 months. But what our organization is doing, apart from the web page we also have association of Freedom to Learn, which is we have a team of experts and lawyers also, and we're analyzing the legislation, and we're trying to find the way how to change it towards the freedom, etc. We also do many events like workshops, conferences, seminars. We have on the 1st of April we have a workshop with the founders of Israeli Democratic School, and also with people from one Czech school which is trying to be as free as possible, which is not easy. The information is on our webpage and on our Facebook page also. What else we do?
Well, I would like to point out one thing of what you say. This is something what I love on that kids which are home educated in Svoboda učení. There are more people who are educating their kids at home, and they all are saying the same thing. When they should put the kids to that officer who is checking if they are learning, all the kids are like, we don't see a point why to do that. Why would we prove to somebody that we are learning? Why is it even his business? And this is the nice thing. There is visible how much the indoctrination is strong in the classes, because you quite can't see regular school kid who would say, why should I go to that blackboard and then be there with the teacher and explain him what I have learned. Everybody knows this, and it's like absolutely, yeah, it's just happening. And these homeschool kids are great in that they are like, why? Why would we prove somebody what we learned? I find this very, very inspiring.
My question is, what is your vision? What is the path towards your perfect system in a way? Is there a way for gradual change, like going through like a legislation for charter schools in one point and then go further towards freedom, or is it going to be the radical change? Because I cannot imagine the radical change at that point. What is your path to this vision?
Well, we want to change we somehow want to change the laws, which is of course very hard, because this is quite very, very unpopular for politics, and in democracy this is very hard to promote. But we have one project, and that project is about that we want to buy some facility with some estate, and run there something like, let's say, free school, which is not legal, so we can't do it like this. We want to first do it like on, let's say, some vacations or summers or weekends or something like that, where the kids would be there, and this would be the system of similar to that school we were talking here about. And we hope that when this will be running for some time, and it will have some let's say propagators and fans, and even the parents will see that it's good for the kids. Then probably we want to through this somehow press on the legislative, in the meaning like let us to consider this as school, and let the kids to go there instead of normal school education. This is one of our way how we want to achieve this. But you're right, it's very hard, and we must do a lot in this.
We got a funding of 5 million crowns for this from a private donor, so we're just searching for a right place. Any questions?
So, that would be probably all. We are anyway running out of time. So thank you that you came, even if it wasn't in the program of LibertyCon. It was our mistake. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Urza and Zdeňka, for the nice talk. If you want to know more about anarchy in whatever, visit Urza's lectures on anarcho-capitalism in Paralelní polis. Thank you.